China will not yield to extreme pressure of any kind. The 11th round of China-US trade talks were held on May 9 and 10 with extreme difficulty and sensitivity. The two sides have made substantial progress on several issues, including enhancing intellectual property protection, broadening market access, improving the bilateral trade balance, but no agreement on China's core concerns has been reached. After Washington announced to impose a 25% tariff on Chinese imports, in response, China made clear that necessary countermeasures will be taken. China has always promoted trade negotiations with the U.S. with highly responsible attitudes and utmost sincerity. But China will never yield to the U.S. extreme pressure and will never compromise on issues concerning the country's principles. The U.S. excuse for creating trade conflicts is to pursue fair trade. However, Washington has ignored the fact that the fair trade has to work both ways. There will be no fairness without a win-win outcome. The U.S. choice of putting extreme pressure on China will ultimately lead to missed opportunities for solving problems. Washington's risky decisions have sparked intense opposition inside the U.S. There was widespread opposition, saying that such practices will disrupt markets, hurt people's interests, and bring economic shock to the country. Criticisms of Washington's recklessness also ran through the international society. China has made a resolute stand against the tariffs imposed by the U.S., but is well prepared for other potential outcomes. China's calm and rational approach has attracted the world's attention, which shows the country's ample confidence in its economy. With trade partners all over the world, China is speeding the pace of transforming itself from a big trading power to a strong one. China-US trade disputes cannot stop China's development. Of course, the window of hope for better China-US trade ties has not been and will not be shut. The two sides agreed to keep lines of communication open, in accordance with the will of the two peoples. Over the past year, the progress and setbacks of China-US trade talks have triggered new reflections on bilateral relations. Looking at the overall picture of China-US ties, we can still see hope through the clouds. Cooperation is the only correct choice. The establishment of China-US diplomatic ties 40 years ago have proved that China-US cooperation is an irresistible trend. Safeguarding bilateral relations is beneficial to China, to the US, and to the whole world. Economic and trade relations are the ballast and propellers of China-US ties. This is an objective fact that cannot be subverted. The trade talks serve as the historical mission of promoting a new China-US economic and trade order, which is balanced, inclusive and win-win. For the two peoples' well-being and the two countries' long-term development, both sides should bear the responsibility and obligation to take the trade talks seriously. The two countries should manage differences with mutual respect, equality and mutual benefit, and seek solutions acceptable to both sides. In particular, the U.S. has to follow the trend and work in tandem with China to solve problems through consultations as equals and create a future with win-win outcomes. India to fill gap in China market amid trade row. This is a crucial week for the trade row between the U.S. and China, during which their differences can be taken as a chance to forge closer economic ties between China and India. The South Asian nation is among a handful of countries that can fill gaps in the Chinese market left by U.S. products. There's a strong willingness to cooperate on the Indian side. The Hindu Business Line reported that officials from the two countries had scheduled a meeting on Thursday in New Delhi to discuss ways to increase China's imports of agricultural commodities and certain other goods from India. India's export potential in fields such as agriculture and electronic products is still far from being fully realized. Many of those goods are likely to be on the list of retaliatory tariffs that will probably be imposed by China against the U.S. if the trade row escalates. China is fully prepared to defend its interests and hit back against possible unilateral tariff increases by the U.S. If some agricultural products are in short supply due to the trade row, this will be an opportunity for made-in-India products to increase their market share in China. India has won market access in China in recent years for sugar, rice, grapes, and a range of other products. The opening up of China's domestic market to Indian products is set to continue, helping to narrow India's trade deficit with China. China is one of India's biggest trading partners, but the huge trade deficit has been a cause of concern for New Delhi. This is a key issue that bilateral relations face today. China will be glad to see that India further cuts its trade deficit and boosts the sound development of bilateral relations. The trade row with the US offers a chance to stave off a chronic disease in China-India relations. Not only India but also many other developing countries in Asia can benefit from the trade tensions between China and the US. There is an urgent need for China to find alternatives to products made in the US by granting more market access to other countries, especially those along the routes of the Belt and Road Initiative. The author is a reporter with the Global Times, BizOpinion at globaltimes.com.cn.